Sorry, do both teams have, do you have your witnesses at the back, all of them? Sorry? Okay, okay. Is your witness at the back? All right. Please rise. The Court of Biblical Trials and Tribulation is now in session. The Honorable Judge Eben presiding. Jury, if you could raise your right hand. Do you honestly promise to affirm that you would truly listen to this case and render a true verdict to the best of your biblical knowledge and understanding? You may be seated.
Members of the jury, your duty today will be to determine whether the defendant is guilty or not, based largely on the way through which each side presents their case. The prosecution must plant doubt in your mind that a crime was committed and that the defendant is the person who committed the crime within the parameters of your own biblical understanding and level of competence of both sides. I want to invite the bailiff, Ms. Gino. What is today's case?
Your Honor, this case is Jacob versus Esau.
Jacob versus Esau. Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is the prosecution ready as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. May I invite the prosecution, the defense, to present your opening statement. Prosecution to bring your opening statement. Is it prosecution? Yeah.
All right, Your Honor, members of the court, to represent the prosecution, we would intend to prove today that Jacob is still guilty of stealing Esau's birthright. We would like to remind the court that agreements made under duress are not legally standing, which we would like to solidify that Jacob was aware of, which is why he further went on to deceive his father alongside with Rebecca, because he was aware that what was his name? Esau had claimed, had noted to be dying of hunger, and under that circumstance, he had given Jacob his birthright. And so then we would like to remind the court that agreements made under such duress are not legally standing. In the next part, when Jacob and Rebecca went on to deceive the father, we would like to remind the court that as far as Isaac knew, he was blessing Esau, regardless of the child in front of him. We would like to mention that birthright is known to all who were witnesses to the birth, and a simple exchange of meals between two people doesn't just change what the whole community knows, which I'm sure the prosecution would like to convince the court that Rebecca was aware of, which is why they created that scheme. But as we said before, as far as Isaac knows, he was blessing Esau, and he later goes on to say that he
30
was
seconds left.
in fact tricked. So we would like to note that if Jacob did not steal, then why did he run? And we would like to present our case in favor of Esau to say Jacob is guilty of stealing his brother's birthright. Rest our case.
Right. Defense, you want to present your opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. So the defense will be arguing that Jacob did not actually steal his brother's birthright. Instead, Esau freely gave it to him of his own free will. And we will present, Bible verses and evidence as to that effect. We believe that God intended Jacob to have this birthright from the beginning. So God gave Jacob the birthright of the older child to begin with. And coupled with that, Esau gave his birthright to Jacob freely. And we'll argue on that basis. Thank you.
Right. Prosecution, is your witness ready to mount the witness box?
Yes, Your Honor. We call Isaac to the stand, please.
Witness, would you please stand, and let bailiff, you may want to lead a witness to take the oath of witness.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise to be for real for the duration of this segment? Please take your seat.
Right. So prosecution, you may want to lead the direct examination of questions to the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Isaac. So my first question to you is very simple. Do you believe that the very first born child of a family has the birthright?
Yes, that's how it's always supposed to be.
Okay. So therefore, would you agree that Esau, the first child that you had, deserves the birthright as the first child?
Yes, I believe that.
Thank you. Would you also confirm this event that happened during all this situation? After Esau had come back from getting his game to prepare his meal for Isaac to eat, and he brought it to Isaac. Isaac trembled with fear and asked, "Where have you been?" Okay. Do you remember you saying to Esau that your brother took your blessing, your in highlight?
Yes.
Thank you. I rest my case.
All right. Defense, the witness is in the witness box, and you have the time to cross-examine the witness.
Okay, thank you. Isaac? Isaac? Yeah. All right. Would you describe yourself as a God-fearing man?
Yes, that's how I would describe myself.
So, if God was to say something, you would take that as true?
Yes.
Without question?
What's your objection?
Him asking if God asked him to do something has got nothing to do with the situation we have at the moment. The situation we have was, at the moment, is him, confirming that Jacob did actually take the birthright of Esau, not God asking him to do anything. That's not what we're dealing with here.
Right. What do you have to say about that before I rule on the objection?
I would say it's very central to the line of questioning that I'm trying to give Isaac, because God plays a big role in the giving of the birthright to Jacob.
Right.
So that's
objection
why
overruled, because the council is letting this court know that he's tolling some line with a question, and so that is the line that he's riding on. And so, counsel, you may continue with your questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Isaac, you've told us you're a God-fearing man, and whatever God says is 100% true. So, with that being said, Genesis 25 tells us that God told the mother of your children, Rebecca, that the younger will rule over the older and take his birthright. Am I correct?
Objection.
What's your objection?
I'm sorry, that verse you're referring does not outright say birthright.
What did you say, please?
The verse in which he's referencing does not outright mention birthright.
Would you want to furnish this court with the right reference?
So, what you're reading is, where is it? Genesis chapter 25, verse 23. It says, Rebecca had gone to the Lord and said, "Why is this happening to me?" The Lord said, the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." It does not outright mention birthright, neither does it say it will be ordained to Jacob. Therefore,
Okay,
this
so
case has no merit.
I ruled on this, the objection upheld. So the verse did not talk about the birthright, but it talks about reigning. So you may continue.
Okay, I'll rephrase the question then.
Right.
But I was building to a point. So we'll say that God gave a prophecy that Jacob would rule over his younger brother. Correct? God gave a prophecy that Jacob would rule over his older brother, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you, maybe without your knowledge, gave Esau's birthright to Jacob, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can I just read for the court quickly what that birthright actually entailed? Okay, now, in verse 29, this is the birthright that you gave to to Jacob. "May people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord and master over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you be blessed." Now, later on, when Esau came and said, "You gave my birthright away," you told him, "Listen carefully. I have made Jacob your Lord and master, and I have given him all his brothers and relatives as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. What then can I do for you, my son?" Did you say that?
Yes.
So, just in case I missed it, you made Jacob Lord over his brother.
Initially, I intended to make Esau the...
That wasn't my question.
I'll get into that.
Yeah?
Initially,
Would you rephrase your question to him?
Okay. My question was, you made Jacob Lord over Esau.
30 seconds left.
yes.
Yes?
Yes.
That is the exact same prophecy that God gave to Rebecca, meaning that you giving away Esau's birthright was a fulfillment of prophecy that God gave. Therefore, God intended Jacob to have the birthright for himself in the first place, and therefore he did not steal it. I rest my case.
Objection.
Counsel, what's your objection?
Which one? Okay. So it says in 27, Genesis chapter 27 to 35, is it?
Is it Genesis chapter 27, verse 35?
Yeah. So it says, he said, your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. So if he knew he wasn't going to steal that blessing, why does he have to go in deceitfully? Furthermore, when he gave that birthright away, we gotta remember it was given under duress. His brother Esau said, "I'm about to die. So what is the birthright to me?"
To that?
Can you allow the counsel to finish making his point, and then I'll give you time.
So when he was about to give that birthright away, he said, "If I die, I'm about to die. So what is a birthright to me?" And we remember in the Bible says, if you gain all for yourself and lose your soul, what is the benefit of it?
Right.
Okay. So now we come again to the last point. He gave the birthright away, which we saying it's under duress, because
Duress.
anyone on the point of dying would do anything to, sustain their life. He did not go to Isaac and say, my brother gave the blessing away, therefore bless me. But what did he do? He went in there deceitfully. He knew what he was doing.
Counsel, what do you have to say to that? Because your colleagues are arguing that Jacob knew exactly what he was doing.
Okay, I will say that in terms of me cross-examining Isaac and what Isaac did, what Jacob did isn't relevant yet.
Right.
Because I didn't ask Jacob any of those questions.
Right.
So if he's presenting that new argument, that means I also have to spend time to rebuttal that, but we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Right. I overrule your objection. If you have any other further question to Isaac, you may proceed before.
No, that was my last question.
All right. You may resume your seat. Thank you, witness. Thank you for taking time to come to this witness box. Thank you. You may now resume your seat. Defense. You may want to call your second, prosecution, you may want to call your second witness to man the witness box.
Yep, we'll call Rebecca to the stands.
Let's go, Rebecca.
Hello, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise to be for real for the duration of the segment? Please take a seat.
So, prosecution, the witness is in the witness box. We are ready to listen to your direct examination of question to the witness.
Hello, Rebecca.
Hello.
So I've just got a few questions for you. Nothing too deep. You as a mother, do you think you had a favorite son?
Of course.
And can we get the name of your favorite son?
His name is Jacob.
Thank you. So, if I'm right, during this whole situation, you were the one who advised. You were the one who advised Jacob to go out into the fields. I mean, you prepared the food and gave to Jacob to take to Isaac to get the blessing, because you overheard him discussing with Esau earlier, saying he should go out into the field, get a game, and come prepared so he eats and bless him. Is this right?
This is correct.
Okay. And when Jacob finally, brought the food in to Isaac, would you say the game that was, killed to prepare the meal, you used the skin of that animal to put over Jacob's skin to make it feel like Esau?
Yes.
So would you then say you were impersonating Esau?
Yep.
Thank you. I rest my case.
Right. Defense. Prosecution witness is still in the box, and you have the time to cross-examine the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. So were you aware that Jacob was given the birthright of Esau?
Yep.
Is that? Are you sure? At the point that Esau was at home, getting given, he came home from hunting and was hungry and exhausted, and Jacob had the food to give him. Were you aware that Esau gave his birthright at that point?
Can you repeat that?
At the point that Esau gave the birthright to Jacob when he was hungry for the food, were you aware of that happening?
Objection.
Counsel, what's your objection?
We are not here to play tricks. You can't be twisting, questions like that. So he's not putting the questions the way they're supposed to be. He's playing like a twisted game right here.
Counsel, I object. I overrule this objection. The defense witness lawyer is asking, cross-examining the prosecution witness that whether she was aware that Esau had given his birthright to Jacob. I think that is a relevant question in this case. Before, how? Would you explain yourself?
Yeah, before he said, are you aware that Jacob's birthright was given to Esau? It wasn't Jacob's birthright to give. It was Esau's because he's the first son.
I didn't say that.
You did say that. He did say that.
I said the
Right.
opposite.
I think this one you can pardon him and give him the opportunity to correct his statement if he did say that. Right. So, counsel, would you want to reframe your question and put it back to the witness?
First of all, I didn't say that it was Jacob's
It's
birthright
already
to
expunged
give.
from the
Yeah.
records.
So, were you aware that Esau's birthright, when he came from hunting and he was exhausted, Esau's birthright, when he gave it to Jacob at that point, were you aware of that happening?
So can you repeat that? So, yeah.
Were you aware of Esau giving his birthright to Jacob?
So,
Counsel, I think you may have to take a time to address your witness because this case, the statement of the witness is very important to the jury.
Can we ask for a 3-minute recess?
For what?
A client, she needs to go to the bathroom again.
Okay, for bathroom break, I can permit it for 2 minutes.
Thank you.
All right. Gentlemen, if he's not the lead counsel, then he's permitted to talk to the witness, even the witness box. The lead counsel is not supposed to talk to the witness in the witness box. No, now, because court is in recess, I cannot allow you. Every witness has access to his lawyer, except when the lawyer is the lead. I think we have exhausted our time. Right. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, the lead counsel for the prosecution has taken her seat. And so, defendant, you can, counsel, you can come and continue cross-examination.
Okay, so in case you're still not clear, I'm just gonna get one of my solicitor to read out Genesis 25, 35 to 36 to 37, please.
Genesis chapter
25, the last two verses of chapter 25.
Right. Genesis 25, 33 to 34. Jacob said, "Swear an oath to me today that you are selling it to me for this food." So he swore an oath to him and sold him his birthright. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and got up and went on his way. In this way, Esau scorned his birthright.
Okay, so here Esau gives his birthright to Jacob. Were you or were you not there when this happened, or were you aware of this happening at that
I
point?
wasn't aware, as my name was not mentioned there. So I was not
Okay.
aware.
So then, when you were given
30 seconds left.
when you give the skins to Jacob to pretend to be Esau, were you aware at that point that he had given his birthright already?
No, I wasn't aware. I just wanted my son, my favorite son, to get all the blessings.
And back before they were born, God told you that the younger would serve the older, correct?
Yes.
So, as a person that wanted what God said to be true, that his birthright to be governed over the older, you would want him to get that regardless of, because you didn't know that the birthright was already given.
I just wanted my son I just wanted to fulfill God's prophecy. I had no idea that the birthright was sold.
So your aim, so you didn't know about the birthright being given, but your aim was to give Jacob his deserved birthright.
No, his deserved prophecy, not birthright.
Objection.
Counsel, what's your objection?
It's not really getting to the point. He's leading our client over here. I'm a witness, so.
I think the counsel is cross-examining the witness, and counsel, you may want to allow him to cross-examine the witness. It's very important.
All right.
That was my last question.
That's the last question?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Witness, thank you so much for coming to mount the witness box. Defense, you may call your first witness to the witness box.
All right. The defense calls Jacob to the stand.
This Jacob, you like fans, but
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you promise to be real for the duration of the segment? You may take a seat.
defense, your witness is in the witness box, and you want to present your questions to the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Jacob, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, that's good. So, when did Esau give his birthright to you?
When? When I came back, I don't remember. Give me a second. When I traded him food.
Okay, so
That's the answer.
So Esau gave you the birthright when in exchange for food, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the defense's whole case rests on if Esau giving his birthright in exchange for food equals to duress. If it is found to be duress, that means that the contract entered into, which is the birthright for food, is null and void. However, Esau being very hungry does not constitute duress in any court of law, in any law that has ever governed, ever. So Esau giving his birthright away because he was hungry is something done freely of his own free will, not because he was forced to by Jacob.
Objection.
Counsel, what's your objection?
When we say duress, we didn't just say duress for the sake of saying duress. We said he was under the duress because he says himself that he was about to die. And anyone who's hungry is always motivated to satisfy that hunger. And like I said, I quoted earlier, if you gain everything in this world, and that's like the birthright, whatever that comes with it, if you gain it and lose your life, what is the benefit of it? So it doesn't matter him giving it away, we just got to find out the reason. Because a birthright given away, it's not something you just give it away doing those time. It has a very good importance to it.
Counsel,
it can't just be given away.
The issue in contention now is whether it was given under duress or not explanation.
Yeah, it was given under duress because he was hungry, and that was what motivated him to be under duress, therefore giving it away.
Anyway, during
Can I
during your examination in chief, you can present your case, but allow the counsel to continue with the question. I overrule that objection.
I said that for a reason, because he said it wasn't given, it wasn't under duress. That's what he said before.
And he has got the mandate to prove to this court that it was not under duress.
I have a question to ask.
Witness, you can only ask questions through your lawyer. Your counsel.
Can I ask him that?
No, you can't. It is your time. It is your time to answer questions and not your time to ask questions. If you have any question to ask, you ask your lawyers.
So do we go? Can we go for like a recess or?
You want to go for recess?
I just need a minute. 1 minute. That's it.
Is that allowed?
Nah, it's not allowed.
I won't talk to him. I won't talk to him.
Yes, if you are not the lead counsel, then you are allowed to talk. The lead counsel is not supposed to.
Yeah, I won't even go near the box. Just
Right.
1 minute recess.
Okay, all right, granted.
Thank you.
Counsel, are you done?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Just to reiterate the point of the case, the case is determining if Jacob is guilty of stealing his brother's blessing. That's just in case. Okay. Can I respond to the objection that they made, or did you already rule?
No, it's your time to cross-examine the question, so you have the floor. You can take your time to do whatever.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. So, our witness has said definitively that Esau gave him the birthright. And I am saying that hunger is not a reasonable or legal form of duress. Being hungry does not, in a court of law, does not cause you to do anything. Like in a court of law, you cannot prove that being hungry has forced you to commit a certain action.
Could that be that someone is under not duress, but the situation he's over exaggerating the issue? Is that the
Objection.
the point you're making? Yes.
He was not only hungry, but he was starved almost to the point of death. So it's not simple hunger. You can't just say it's just hunger.
Counsel, I think you had your time to cross-examine your witness. And so this is the time for defense lawyer.
And as of that point, I would like to say that I'll put to the court that Esau was exaggerating, because at the end of Genesis chapter 25, the Bible lets us know that Esau despised his birthright, meaning he did not want it, and he gave it freely to Jacob. No, there was no mention of duress, or there's no mention of him being forced. The word the Bible uses, despised his birthright. Before I go on, to continue, let me go to Hebrews. Let me jump to Hebrews chapter 12. I'm going to go from verse 15. Sorry, we'll go from verse 16. And the Bible says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Notice that the Bible says sold. It doesn't say his birthright was stolen. The onus of the birthright being given away is solely on Esau and not on Jacob. For you know that how afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So the Bible also backs up our case that Esau gave it away of his own free will, and Jacob did not steal the birthright, according
Your
to
Honor,
the
time.
Bible.
Time?
Yeah,
Time
that
up.
was it. Thank you.
All right. Prosecution, the defense witness is in the witness box. And it is your time to cross-examine the witness.
Hello, Jacob.
Hello.
So I've just pretty much just got a few questions based on whatever was said over here. So you said you sold the birthright. I mean, Esau sold the birthright to you out of his free will. Is that it?
I didn't. Yes.
Yeah, that's what you said. Okay. So
I said explicitly, but yeah.
so he sold it out. You said out of his free will. Is that what you said?
I never mentioned free will, but I said he gave it to me.
That's not what you said.
I said free will.
Yeah, you said. Well,
Objection.
You said free will.
I said that.
Yeah.
Objection.
He said free will.
So,
I said that. So he
we
can't question
take
my
it-
witness about what I said. He has to ask his own questions.
He agreed.
But you're saying he said it. He
No,
didn't
I
say
said
it.
you said it.
Counsel, the witness is in the
Yep.
witness box. So what
Okay.
the witness takes is what goes into the record.
Right. Okay. All right. So, would you say, with the state that he was in, almost dying of hunger, you took advantage or you saw an opportunity for him to sell you that birthright?
Sure.
Thank you. And in that, seeing him in that state, you've agreed that you took advantage of him. And is that right? You made him swear. Did you make him swear to sell his birthright?
I didn't take advantage, but I asked him to swear. Yes.
Okay, you ask him to swear. Well, this is what God says about swearing. I'll take you to Matthew 5:36.
Objection.
What's your objection, Counsel?
What's the relevance of Matthew to the story between Jacob
would
and
you be-
Esau?
Would you be able to establish the irrelevance? Then I can uphold your
Yeah.
objection.
So So the prosecution is attempting to ask my client. He said something about this is what the Bible says about people who swear. Correct? You said that?
I said, this is what God said about swearing. So
I'm not.
He's not done.
I'm not done. So what you said before was,
He didn't finish his objection.
So he has raised an objection, and I'm asking him to
all right.
provide information whether the objection will be sustained or overruled.
Yeah. So he's taking us to Matthew. First, I have two objections. The first objection is that Jacob didn't do any swearing. That was all Esau. And the second is that he's trying to apply New Testament. He's trying to apply New Testament philosophy to an Old Testament tale. So I don't see how that can go.
But it doesn't sit right with me. But until you really hear where I'm coming from, you can't really battle my answer before I even say it.
Right. So, counsel, I want to hear your argument before I rule on that objection.
Okay, so this is what God said about swearing. And earlier, you both agreed that it was God's plan to pretty much, give the birthright to Jacob. Was that right?
I wasn't up here when that was mentioned. I believe Rebecca was.
No, you said, you both, yeah.
I said, me?
Yeah,
Jacob.
no, he asked you that, were you aware? He said, sorry, let me take my time. So he said, when he was talking to you, somewhere along the line, he said, God had it in his plans this whole time to give it to the youngest because it was prophesied. I don't know if everyone remember this, but that was what he was said.
Yeah, it's in the record.
Yeah.
I don't believe that was to me, though, Your Honor.
But that's what he said. I'm not saying he said it to you, generally. That's what he said during one of his
Okay,
statements.
okay.
Okay. Well, this same God that you're saying, pretty much gave it to Jacob. This is what he says about making people, swear or just swearing in general. Well, this is what he said. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. All you need to say is simply yes or no, and anything beyond this is evil. Him selling that, making him swear to sell that birthright, we all knew what he was up to. Because he found him in a very disadvantaged situation, therefore he's taking advantage of it, and that's evil.
I wasn't aware of Matthew's writings when this was happening.
You weren't aware of Matthew's writing when...
I don't think Matthew was even born when this was happening.
Counsel,
well, but
the contention here is that you have raised a biblical case about swearing.
About swearing, yes.
The witness is telling the court that he wasn't aware of any the writings of whether there is an existence of Matthew or anything.
And I'm not asking for him to be aware, but I'm just saying this what this same God they're claiming to have given that birthright said.
Right.
That's what I'm
Your
saying.
Honor.
I'm not saying you
Your
should
Honor.
know, but this is what he said.
Yeah.
Counsel, unfortunately your time has expired, and so you may resume your seat. Witness, thank you so much for coming and demonstrating that you know nothing about what Matthew has written to this open court. I'm very surprised at you. Anyway, defense, now you have the time to call your second witness to the witness box.
We would like to call Rebecca to the stand. Got a bit of a makeover in the time that you were down.
Are you sure you are coming to the court?
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise to be for real for the remainder of the segment? Please take your seat.
Right. Defense, the witness is in the witness box, and you want to direct examine the witness with your questions.
Okay, before I begin my line of questioning, can my solicitor please bring up Genesis 25 verses 24 to 26?
Genesis 25, verses 24 to 26. When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out reddish all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau, which means hairy. 26. Afterward, his brother came out, and his hand grasped Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob, which means one who grabs the heel or supplanter.
That's all that I need. Okay. So Jacob, after Esau was born, Jacob reached his hand out and grabbed Esau's heel. Would you say that this is an act of trying to become born first instead of Esau?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So even before Jacob was born, he was like in his spirit in in his basically destiny, he was trying to become the firstborn.
Yes, indeed.
And later on, it states that you also favored him above Esau when Isaac favored Esau.
Yes, that is very true.
Would you say that this is because you always believed that Jacob was set apart and that he was destined to become that younger brother to serve the younger to be served by the older?
Yes, I did. God did, in fact, say that.
That is all I have.
All right, thank you. Prosecution. The witness is in the witness box, and it's your time to cross-examine the witness.
2 seconds.
They called me. So, you had agreed to a statement that when the babies were being born, the younger tried to grab the heel of the older, and so hence he was trying to basically take the birthright of he was trying to become the older. You agreed to that. We also agreed.
I did.
Yeah. So if you agreed that he tried to grab and become the firstborn, would you then say that he tried to take something that wasn't his because he was not the firstborn?
No.
No further questions.
No further questions?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
because he contradicted himself. He agreed
well,
first
that
and
is
he said no.
that is up to the jury, and he had alluded to the fact that before he was born, he had already stretched his hand to grab the heel of his brother.
Who
Your
was already
question-
out, by the way.
Your question to him, to the witness, was that whether he was trying to become the first. So
Know what I said?
You said yes.
I said yes. But
on
your
the
second
record.
question. No, I didn't agree with that.
So, counsel, you have exhausted your questions, and so thank you, witness, for coming to the witness box to give a witness. Now, I want to invite both defense and counsel at this point to present your closing argument, and so I will start with prosecution to present your closing argument. Please, how many minutes? How many minutes is supposed to? 2 minutes. Right, so please be mindful of time.
Am I free to talk? Now?
Yes.
All right. The prosecution would like to remind the jury or the court that in God's ordainment and when he spoke to Rebecca, nowhere is it outright mentioned birthright. Yes, he noted that the younger will serve the older. The older will serve the younger. However, it is not explicitly mentioned birthright. So for the defense to note that it's because of this very prophecy that it is then legally okay for Jacob to take that birthright, that case does not stand because it does not specifically note birthright. We'd also like to mention to the court, if Jacob did not steal, if what he did was within his rights, then why did he run away in the end? Like, he ran to escape the fury of Esau. Esau was angry because why? Something was taken from him. So if he knew he was not in fact guilty, I beg, why would you leave? And then we would also like to remind the court. Why? Why? Because something was taken from him. Yeah? If you felt like you had done nothing wrong, there's no reason for you to leave. We would also like to mention that Isaac noted it was deceitfully acquired. He would like to know, as far as he knew, he was blessing Esau. And so from that standpoint, look, we would just like to say, in this case, this trial, we would like to remain firm in our standing that Jacob is still guilty. Thank you.
Right. Defense, you have the next 2 minutes to present your closing argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, in the case of Jacob versus Esau, I'd like to remind the court that the prosecution is trying to prove that Esau gave away his birthright under duress, and therefore that means that Jacob stole the birthright. However, I would like to remind the court that duress does not constitute hunger. The fact that Esau was hungry and gave away his birthright has no legal standing in any court of law. I'd also like to note that Isaac attested to the prophecy that God gave, that Jacob the younger would be served by Esau the older, and in fulfillment of that, and the fulfillment of that prophecy that God made was Isaac giving Esau's birthright to Jacob, and so therefore this shows that Esau's birthright in quotes was preordained to go to Jacob because God made the prophecy and Isaac fulfilled that prophecy in even in the wording of which he gave the birthright, which he told Jacob that your brothers will serve you, and so on and so forth. And so I believe that proves that Jacob's birthright was not stolen, it was given. And I read passages from Genesis 25 and Hebrews 12, which showed that Esau despised his birthright and he gave it away of his own free will. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the jury, we have heard the closing argument, but before I come to you with your responsibility, both defense and prosecution, both of you have presented your case. However, I would give an opportunity for prosecution and defense to give a final statement if wanted. Do you want to do so, prosecution?
I'd like to say that he mentioned the fact that it was something that was prophesied by God, and so hence, could you please repeat what you said? Hence, it was right for him to do it, and it was not theft, since it was prophesied by God. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what he said.
Yeah, but just because it's been prophesied by God doesn't mean there's no deceitful actions in it. So God can see something that's going to happen, but still along the way, there's some deceitful actions that can lead to that happening. That has nothing to do with God being in the hearts of those acting deceitfully. That has everything to do with him knowing that it's already going to happen. So they still acted deceitfully, even though it was God said that was going to happen.
So, was it possible for God to have corrected the incident if it was going to be deceitful and which was going to contradict his will?
But God has given us free will to act in the way that we want to act. So we're going to act the way we're going to act regardless of it. And God knows this, but He is not the type of God that changes the things that are already going to happen through our free will.
Anyway, defense, that's your case, so that's your case. That's why I say anyway. Defense, your closing statement if you have any.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I would like to remind the jury the basis on which the prosecution's...
This statement is to the bench, not the jury.
Oh, okay. So I'll remind the court that the entire basis of the prosecution's argument is on the duress of Esau giving Jacob the blessing. Now, I've mentioned it over and over. I'll even, encourage whoever it is to Google this, that hunger is not a form of duress. And therefore, Esau giving Jacob his birthright is completely and legally valid because there was an exchange of value, the food for the birthright. And to go on, I would like to remind the court of what Rebecca said, she said that she was the catalyst to, and it even says this in the Bible, that she was the catalyst to help Jacob deceive his father. She was the one who said, go in and do it, and go in and take the blessing. But she was not aware that the blessing was already Jacob's in the first place. And so that's why that deceit happened in the first place. It was not Jacob's will, but the birthright was his to begin with.
All right, counsel, it is not within your bosom to tell us whether it is his will or not. Please resume your seat. Your time is up.
All right, thank you.
Members of the jury, you have heard all the testimonies concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine the fact. You and you alone are the judges of the fact. In just a moment, the bailiff will take you to the jury room to consider your verdict. One of the first things you would want to do is to select a 4-person to share the verdict. Whatever verdict you render must be unanimous, which means that each and every person must agree on the same verdict. The bailiff will now escort you to the deliberation room.